5 years passed since the day Hana threw her badge on the council floor. 5 years since humanity stood alone against the Vakari. 5 years since everything changed. Earth was reborn. New cities rose from the ashes of old ones. Factories hummed with activity. Ships launched into space every day, carrying supplies and hope to distant worlds. The scars of the invasion remained, but they no longer defined humanity. They reminded everyone of what they had survived. President Minho stood in his office in the new capital, looking at a holographic map of the galaxy. So much had changed since he took office 3 years ago. The old Galactic Council still existed, but it was a shadow of its former self. Only a handful of species remained loyal to Vorin and his allies. The rest had joined something new. They called it the Free Worlds Alliance. It started with a few rebel species who had fought against the Vakari Empire. Now it included over 100 worlds, all committed to a simple idea. Every species deserved freedom, and no one would be abandoned. Humanity led this alliance, not through force, but through example. When a species faced invasion, human ships arrived to help. When a world suffered disaster, human supplies came within days. When former slaves needed to learn how to govern themselves, human advisors offered guidance without demanding control. It was everything the old council had promised but never delivered. A message arrived on Minho's desk. He read it and smiled. Vorin was requesting a meeting. Again. Minho remembered the first time Vorin had reached out, about 4 years ago. The council leader had demanded that humanity rejoin the council. He had threatened economic punishment. He had warned of isolation. Minho had refused. He did not need the council. Nobody did anymore. Now Vorin's messages were different. They were not demands. They were pleased. Hana entered the office, her hair now streaked with gray. She had served as lead diplomat for the Free Worlds Alliance since its founding. She looked tired but proud. Another message from Vorin? She asked. He wants to negotiate terms of surrender, Minho said. Hana sat down heavily. I never thought I would see this day. The mighty Galactic Council begging for mercy from the species they once mocked. It is not mercy they need to worry about, Minho replied. It is irrelevance. The council controls nothing now. Their trade routes are empty. Their allies have left. They are a government with no citizens, so what do we do? Ignore them until they fade away. Minho thought about this carefully. Revenge would be easy. He could punish Vorin and the others for abandoning Earth. He could make them suffer the way humanity had suffered. Part of him wanted exactly that, but he thought about Admiral Taiho, who had died 2 years ago from wounds he received during the war. Before he passed, the old soldier had shared a final piece of wisdom with Minho. The galaxy is watching us, Taiho had said. They want to see if we are different from the council. If we are, we must prove it. If we are not, then everything we fought for means nothing. Minho looked at Hana. We meet with them. We hear what they have to say. And we offer them a choice. What kind of choice? The same choice we offer everyone. Join the Free Worlds Alliance as equals, not rulers. Help build something better. Or stay in their empty halls and watch history move on without them. Hana nodded slowly. That is more generous than they deserve. It is not about what they deserve, Minho said. It is about who we want to be. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a space station that belonged to neither side. Minho brought a small group of advisors. Vorin came with the last remaining council delegates. They looked old and defeated. The great hall of the station was silent as the two groups faced each other. 5 years ago, this meeting would have been impossible. Humanity was nothing then, a young species barely worth noticing. Now they shaped the future of the galaxy. Vorin spoke first. His voice was quiet, missing the confidence it once held. President Minho, Ambassador Hana, thank you for agreeing to meet. Minho nodded but said nothing. He wanted to hear what Voran had to say. We have made terrible mistakes, Voran continued. When humanity asked for help, we refused. When your people died, we did nothing. We told ourselves that you were too small to matter. We were wrong. Drell, the blue creature who had once called humans children, stepped forward. He looked ashamed. I personally insulted your ambassador in front of the entire council. I laughed while your world burned. I have no excuse for my actions. I can only say that I am sorry. Hana watched them carefully. She remembered that day in the council chamber. She remembered the laughter, the dismissal, the cruelty. Part of her wanted to throw their apology back in their faces, but she also remembered why she had become a diplomat in the first place. Not for revenge, for understanding, for building bridges between different peoples. Sorry is a word, she said slowly. What matters is what comes next. Voran straightened slightly. We want to join the Free Worlds Alliance. We know we have no right to ask, but the council is dying. Our people are suffering. We have nowhere else to turn. Minho exchanged a look with Hana. This was the moment they had discussed. This was the choice that would define humanity's legacy. The Free Worlds Alliance was built on principles, Minho said. Every species is equal. Every species has a voice. Every species helps others without expecting reward. Can you accept these principles? Voran hesitated. For centuries, his species had ruled over others. The idea of true equality was strange to them. It will not be easy, he admitted. We have lived as masters for a long time, but we are willing to learn. We are willing to change. Then you are welcome, Minho said. Not as leaders, not as special members, as equals among many. That is all we offer. Voran bowed his head. It was a gesture of respect that he had never shown to any other species. We accept. The news spread across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had joined the Free Worlds Alliance. The old order was officially over. A new age had begun. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. They had come so far from the dark days of the invasion. They had survived. They had won. And they had built something that would last. Hana returned home after the meeting and visited a memorial park that had been built near her childhood home. It honored all those who died in the Vakari invasion. Names covered the walls. Millions of them. She found the spot she was looking for and placed a flower beneath a particular name. Somi, the pilot who had led the attack on Krull's ship. The woman who had sacrificed everything so that others could live. We did it, Hana whispered. We built the galaxy you died for. I hope you are proud. A light rain began to fall. Hana stood there for a long time, remembering all the friends she had lost, all the battles fought, all the tears shed. But when she finally left, she was smiling. Because the future was bright. Because humanity had proven that even the smallest species could change everything. Because the galaxy was finally becoming what it always should have been. Free. President Minho gave a speech that evening. Billions of beings across 100 worlds watched as he spoke. Today marks the end of one era and the beginning of another, he said. The old council believed that power came from domination. They were wrong. True power comes from unity, from trust, from standing together when times are hard. He paused and looked directly into the camera. Humanity learned this lesson the hard way. We stood alone when no one else would help us. We survived because we refused to give up. And now we offer what we never received, a hand of friendship to all who seek it. The Free Worlds Alliance is not perfect. We will make mistakes. We will face new challenges, but we will face them together. That is our promise. That is our strength. He smiled, and it was a genuine smile full of hope. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders. Let us explore it together. Let us build a future where no species has to stand alone. Let us show the universe what is possible when we choose cooperation over conflict. That is the legacy of everyone who fought and died for this dream. That is what humanity offers the stars. Thank you, and welcome to the New Age. The broadcast ended, but its message echoed through space. Species that had never met humans heard his words. They heard the promise of something better, and they began to hope that the old galaxy was gone. In its place stood something new, and at the heart of it all was humanity, the species that refused to accept what others said was impossible, the species that changed everything. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Ships carried information from star to star. Communication signals bounced through space at incredible speeds. Within days, every civilized world knew what had happened on Earth. Humanity had defeated the Vakari Empire alone, without help from the Galactic Council, without advanced alien technology. Just humans, fighting with everything they had done at first. Nobody believed it. The Vakari had conquered dozens of worlds. Their military was one of the strongest in the galaxy. How could a young species like humanity destroy them? But the evidence was clear. The Vakari command ship had fallen from the sky. Their invasion force had been wiped out. Their leader, the feared Krall, was dead. And suddenly, everything changed. On a small moon called Tarses, a species of insect-like creatures had lived under Vakari rule for 300 years. They worked in mines, digging precious metals that the Vakari sold across the galaxy. They were slaves in all but name. Their leader was an old female named Kira. She had accepted Vakari rule all her life. She believed there was no other choice. Fighting back meant death. That was what everyone knew. But when news of Earth reached Tarsis, Kira called a secret meeting. "Did you hear what the humans did?" she asked her people. "We heard," said a young male named Bryn. "But humans are different. They are warriors. We are miners. We cannot fight like them." Kira shook her head. The humans were not always warriors. 50 years ago, they had never left their planet. They were small and weak, just like us. But they did not accept their fate. They fought back. The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but was afraid to say it. Finally, Kira spoke the words that would change their world. "If humans can defeat the Vakari, so can we." The rebellion on Tarsis began 3 days later. It was small at first. Workers refused to enter the mines. Guards were attacked in the night. Vakari officers woke up to find their weapons missing. The Vakari on Tarsis were confused. They had ruled this moon for centuries without trouble. Why were the miners suddenly fighting back? They called for reinforcements, but none came. The Vakari Empire was falling apart. The death of Krall had created a power vacuum. Different generals fought each other for control. Nobody had time to worry about one small moon. Within a month, Tarsis was free. Kira stood on a hill and watched as the last Vakari ship fled into the sky. Her people cheered around her. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. And she was right. The rebellion spread like wildfire. Species that had lived under Vakari control for generations suddenly found their courage. They looked at what the humans had done and thought, "If they can do it, why cannot we?" On the planet Velen, a species of tall, thin creatures with silver skin overthrew their Vakari governors. On the space station Nexus, workers seized control from their masters. On the forest world of Green Deep, native creatures attacked Vakari logging camps and drove them away. Each victory inspired more rebellions. Each rebellion weakened the Vakari Empire further. What had been the most feared military force in the galaxy became a collection of frightened soldiers trying to hold on to power they no longer had. The Galactic Council watched all of this with growing fear. They had laughed at humanity. They had refused to help when Earth was burning. Now they saw the results of their decision. Council leader Vorin called an emergency meeting. His forearms shook as he addressed the assembled delegates. "We face a crisis," he said. His voice was not as confident as before. "The balance of power in the galaxy is collapsing. Species that once accepted council authority are now questioning our rule." Drow, the blue creature with tentacles, spoke from his seat. "This is the fault of the humans. They have created chaos by defeating the Vakari. They have given other species dangerous ideas." "Dangerous ideas?" repeated a small delegate from a minor species. His name was Tall, and he had always been quiet in council meetings. Now he stood up and spoke loudly. "You mean the idea that smaller species can defend themselves? The idea that we do not need the council to save us?" Vorin's black eyes narrowed. "Be careful, Tall. You speak against the council." "I speak the truth," Tall replied. "The humans asked for help, and you laughed at them. Now, they have proven that they are stronger than you thought. And you are afraid." Murmurs filled the great hall. Other delegates nodded in agreement. For the first time ever, species were openly challenging council authority. Vorin tried to regain control. "We must send a message to humanity. We must establish diplomatic relations. If we bring them into the fold, we can restore order. You think the humans will listen to you now?" Tall laughed. "After what you did, you abandoned them in their darkest hour. They will never forget that." The meeting fell into chaos. Delegates shouted at each other. Old alliances broke apart. Species that had worked together for centuries suddenly remembered old grudges. By the end of the day, 3 species had formally withdrawn from the Galactic Council. Within a week, that number grew to 12. Within a month, almost half the council had left. Ambassador Hana received regular reports about the chaos. She was back on Earth now, helping to rebuild her world. But she kept track of what was happening among the stars. Admiral Taiho visited her office one evening. He looked tired but satisfied. "You have heard the news?" he asked. Hana nodded. "The council is falling apart. Species are leaving every day. Vorin is losing his power." "Good," Taiho said. There was no mercy in his voice. "They deserve it. They watched us burn and did nothing." Hana was quiet for a moment. She understood Taiho's anger. She felt it too. But she also saw a bigger picture. "We need to think about what comes next," she said. "The old order is dying. Something new will take its place. We can let it happen without us, or we can help shape it." Taiho sat down heavily. "What are you suggesting?" "I am suggesting that we do what the council never did. We reach out to the species that are fighting for their freedom. We offer them something real. Not empty promises, but actual help. Why would we do that?" "We owe them nothing." Hana smiled sadly. "Because we know what it feels like to stand alone. Because we know the fear and the pain and the desperation. We can help others avoid what we suffered." Taiho thought about this for a long time. He remembered the dark days of the invasion. He remembered watching cities burn. He remembered the faces of soldiers who died fighting for their homes. "The council abandoned us," he finally said. "You want us to be better than them?" "Yes," Hana replied. "That is exactly what I want. We can build something new. Something that actually protects the weak instead of exploiting them. A real alliance based on mutual respect." Taiho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, workers were rebuilding the city. New buildings rose where ruins had stood. Children played in streets that had once been battlefields. "It will not be easy," he said. "Nothing worth doing is easy," Hana replied. Taiho turned back to face her. For the first time in months, there was hope in his eyes. "Send messages to the rebel species," he said. "Tell them humanity wants to talk. Tell them we are offering friendship, not control. Tell them that together We can build a galaxy worth living in." Hana nodded and began composing the messages. Across the stars, species in the middle of their own struggles received word that humanity was reaching out. Many were suspicious at first. They had learned not to trust powerful species, but humanity was different. They were not asking for submission. They were not demanding tribute. They simply offered help. Slowly, one by one, species began to respond. They wanted to meet these humans who had done the impossible. They wanted to learn how to fight like them. They wanted to be part of something new. The old Galactic Council watched in horror as a new alliance began to form. An alliance led by the species they had laughed at. An alliance built on the ashes of their arrogance. Vaughn called for emergency measures. He demanded that the remaining council members take action against humanity. But it was too late. Too many species had already left. Too many were already talking to Earth. The age of the Galactic Council was ending. The age of humanity was just beginning. The corridors of the Vakari command ship were dark and cold. Strange sounds echoed through the metal walls. The air smelled wrong, like burning chemicals and something rotten. Somi moved quickly through the shadows, her team following close behind. They had trained for this. They knew the layout of the ship from stolen data. They knew where the guards would be, where the weak points were, where Kral kept his throne room. But knowing something and living it were very different things. The first Vakari they met was a guard at the end of a long hallway. He was tall with green skin and 4 eyes. He carried a weapon that glowed with deadly energy. He never saw Somi coming. She moved like wind. One moment she was in the shadows. The next moment she was behind him, her knife sliding through a gap in his armor. The guard fell without making a sound. "Clear," Somi whispered into her communicator. The team moved forward. They split into 3 groups according to the plan. Group 1, led by a soldier named Junho, would go to the engine room. Their job was to plant explosives that would destroy the ship from inside. Group 2, led by Yuna's best fighter named Daiho, would attack the weapons control center. They would stop the ship from firing at Earth while the mission continued. Group 3 was Sami's group. They had the hardest job. They would find Kral and kill him. The groups separated at a junction point. They nodded to each other, knowing this might be the last time they saw their friends alive. "Good luck," Junho said. "We do not need luck," Somi replied. "We have each other." She turned and led her team deeper into the ship. The Vakari were not prepared for an attack from inside their vessel. Their security focused on threats from outside. They never imagined that humans would be bold enough to enter their home. This arrogance cost them dearly. Sami's team cut through patrol after patrol. They used stealth when they could and violence when they had to. Each Vakari they killed was one less enemy standing between them and their goal. But the ship was huge, and there were thousands of Vakari aboard. Soon, alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed in the corridors. A voice spoke in the Vakari language, warning of intruders. "They know we are here," said a soldier named Ji Wu. He was young, barely 20 years old, but he had proven himself in many battles. "It does not matter," Somi said. "We expected this. Keep moving." They ran now instead of walking. The plan was already in motion. Junho's team had reached the engine room and was planting explosives. Daiho's team had taken control of the weapons center and was holding it against waves of Vakari soldiers. Everything depended on Somi reaching Kral in time. The Vakari leader sat on his throne when the alarms began. His 4 eyes narrowed with anger. He could not believe what his soldiers were telling him. Humans inside his ship? Impossible. "Find them," he ordered. "Kill them all." Hundreds of Vakari soldiers rushed through the corridors. They were bigger than humans, stronger than humans, and better armed. In a fair fight, they would win easily. But this was not a fair fight. The humans used every trick they knew. They set traps in the corridors. They used the ship's own systems against its crew. They fought with a fury that the Vicari had never seen before. One Vicari soldier reported back to Krull with fear in his voice. "Commander, these creatures do not retreat. We kill 5 of them, and 10 more appear. They do not seem afraid to die." Krull stood up from his throne. For the first time in many years, he felt something strange in his chest. Was it worry? No, that was impossible. He was Krull, conqueror of 100 worlds. He did not worry about insects like humans. "Then kill them faster," he said, "and bring me their leader alive. I want to see the fear in their eyes before I end them." Sami's team had lost 8 soldiers by the time they reached the throne room doors. Each death hurt like a knife in her heart. These were her friends. These were her comrades. But she could not stop. She could not let their sacrifice be meaningless. The throne room doors were massive, made of metal that could stop most weapons. But the humans had prepared for this. Jiwoo placed special charges on the door, while the others held off attacking Vicari. "Ready!" Jiwoo shouted. "Everyone back!" Somi ordered. The explosion tore the doors apart. Smoke filled the air. Before it cleared, Somi was already running through. The throne room was enormous. Crystal pillars held up a ceiling that seemed to stretch forever. In the center stood Krull, surrounded by his personal guards. There were at least 50 of them, the best soldiers in the Vicari military. Krull looked at Somi and laughed. It was an ugly sound, like metal scraping against stone. "You are the leader?" he said. "A small female creature? This is what threatens my empire." Somi did not answer with words. She raised her weapon and fired. The battle was chaos. Gunfire and energy blasts filled the air. Bodies fell on both sides. The Vicari guards were skilled, but the humans were desperate. They had come too far to fail now. Jiwoo fell first, hit by 3 energy blasts at once. He died with his weapon still firing. 2 more soldiers went down trying to flank the guards. Then 3 more. Somi kept fighting. She moved between enemies like a dancer, her weapon an extension of her body. She killed 5 guards, then 10. Blood covered her face, some of it her own. Finally, only she remained standing. Around her lay the bodies of friends and enemies. Across the room, Krull stood alone. His guards were dead. His army was losing, but he still smiled. "Impressive," he said. "You fight well for an inferior species. But it changes nothing. Even if you kill me, the Vicari Empire will continue. We will burn your world to ash." Somi walked toward him slowly. Her legs were shaking. Her body was covered in wounds. But her eyes were steady. "You do not understand," she said. "This is not about winning a war. This is about sending a message." She pressed a button on her communicator. All around the ship, explosions began. Junho's team had succeeded. The engines were dying. The great command ship started to fall from the sky. Krull's smile finally disappeared. "What have you done?" "I have shown the galaxy that humans are not prey," Somi said. "We are hunters. And we never forget. We never forgive." She raised her weapon one last time, far below, on the surface of Earth. People looked up at the sky. They saw the Vicari command ship falling like a meteor. It burned as it fell, leaving a trail of fire across the clouds. Admiral Taiho watched from his command center. His hands were shaking. He knew what this meant. He knew the cost. Did they succeed? Yuna asked quietly. The command ship hit the ocean with a sound like thunder. A wave of water rose miles into the sky. When it fell, there was nothing left but wreckage. "Yes," Taiho said. His voice was barely a whisper. They succeeded. Across the planet, the Vicari forces began to panic. Their leader was dead. Their command ship was destroyed. They had no orders, no coordination. What had been an organized invasion became chaos. Human soldiers, who had been hiding and fighting small battles, saw their chance. They attacked from everywhere at once. They retook cities that had been lost. They destroyed Vakari ships that tried to flee. Within 3 days, the invasion was broken. Within a week, the last Vakari soldiers on Earth were dead or captured. The planet was free, but the cost had been terrible. Millions of humans had died. Cities lay in ruins, and 200 brave soldiers had given their lives to kill. One enemy leader, Taeho, ordered a moment of silence for the fallen. Across the world, everyone stopped what they were doing and remembered those who had sacrificed everything. In the silence, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. They had heard about humanity's victory. They wanted to talk. Taeho read the message and laughed. It was not a happy laugh. "Now they want to talk," he said. "Now, after we won without them." He threw the message away and looked at the sky. "Let them wait," he said. "We have work to do." The news spread across Earth like fire. The Galactic Council had refused to help. There would be no alien ships coming to save them. There would be no advanced weapons from friendly species. Humanity stood alone against the most dangerous empire in the galaxy. Some people cried. Some people screamed in anger. Some lost all hope and waited for death. But something strange happened in the days that followed. Instead of falling apart, humanity came together. In a small underground base beneath what used to be Seoul, Admiral Taeho held a meeting with the remaining military leaders. The room was dark and cold. Maps covered the walls, showing the positions of Vakari forces around the world. Red dots marked the cities that had fallen. There were too many red dots. "Report," Taeho said simply. General Park stood up. He was a big man with a scar across his face. "We have lost 40% of our fleet. The Vakari control the skies over North America, Europe, and most of Asia. They have destroyed our main factories and shipyards." A woman named Colonel Yuna added, "Our ground forces are still fighting, but they are running out of supplies. The Vakari weapons burn through our armor like paper. We need a new strategy, or we will lose everything within 2 months." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the numbers. Everyone understood how bad things were. But Taeho did not show any fear. He had been thinking about this problem ever since Hana sent her message. "The Vakari believe they have already won," Taeho said slowly. "They think we are just another weak species waiting to be conquered. That is their greatest weakness." Park frowned. "With respect, sir, how is that a weakness?" "They are winning because they are not careful," Taeho replied. "They have never fought a species that refused to surrender. They have never faced an enemy that would rather die than give up. We will use that against them." He walked to the largest map on the wall and pointed to a cluster of Vakari ships floating above the Pacific Ocean. "This is their main command ship," he said. "If we destroy it, their entire fleet loses coordination. They will fall into confusion." Yuna shook her head. "That ship is protected by hundreds of smaller vessels. We cannot get close to it. We tried 3 times already and lost thousands of soldiers. We cannot get close with a normal attack," Taeho agreed. "So we will not use a normal attack." He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a ship that nobody had ever seen before. It was sleek and fast, built for speed instead of power. "What is that?" Park asked. "Project Shadow," Taeho said. "We have been building it in secret for the past month. It is a stealth ship. The Vakari sensors cannot detect it. We can fly it right into their command ship and destroy it from inside." The room buzzed with whispers. This was the first time anyone had heard of such a plan. It seemed impossible, but it also seemed like their only chance. Who will fly it? Yuna asked Te, who looked at her with steady eyes. I will ask for volunteers. This is a mission that may have no return. Everyone who goes must understand that. The next morning, Taiho stood before 200 soldiers. They were the best pilots and fighters left on Earth. Many of them had lost family to the Vakari. All of them had lost friends. Their faces were hard and determined. I will not lie to you, Taiho said. This mission is dangerous. Many of you may die. The ship is new and untested. The enemy is strong. But if we succeed, we will change the course of this war. He paused and looked at each of them. I am not ordering anyone to go. I am asking for volunteers. If you want to stay, no one will judge you. But if you want to fight, if you want to show the galaxy what humans can do, then step forward. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, a young woman stepped out of the crowd. She was short with a round face and determined eyes. Her name was Somi, and she was one of the best pilots in the fleet. I will go, she said simply. Another soldier stepped forward. Then another. And another. Within minutes, every single person in the room had volunteered. Taiho felt something he had not felt in months. Pride. You honor humanity, he said quietly. Now let us prepare. The next 2 weeks were filled with intense training. The soldiers learned every part of the shadow ship. They practiced their roles until they could do them with their eyes closed. They studied the Vakari command ship and memorized its layout. Meanwhile, the war continued outside. The Vakari pushed deeper into human territory. More cities fell. More people died. But the soldiers in the underground base did not let it break them. They used their anger as fuel. They turned their grief into strength. Somi worked harder than anyone. She spent every night studying, every day training. She barely slept. Her eyes were always tired, but her spirit never broke. One night, Yuna found her sitting alone in the hangar, staring at the shadow ship. You should rest, Yuna said gently. Somi shook her head. I cannot rest. Not while my sister is still out there. Yuna sat down beside her. Your sister? Her name is Minji. She was visiting America when the invasion started. I have not heard from her since. Somi's voice trembled slightly. I do not know if she is alive or dead, but I will fight for her. I will fight for everyone who cannot fight for themselves. Yuna put a hand on her shoulder. That is why you will succeed. Not because of the ship or the weapons. Because of what is in your heart. The day of the mission finally arrived. The shadow ship sat in the center of the underground hangar, dark and silent. 200 soldiers boarded it one by one. They wore special suits that would protect them inside the enemy ship. They carried weapons designed to cut through Vakari armor. Taiho stood at the entrance and shook hands with each person who passed. Come back alive, he told them. That is an order. Some smiled. Some nodded. Some said nothing at all. They all knew what was at stake. Som. I was the last to board. She stopped in front of Taiho and saluted. Admiral, she said, when we destroy their command ship, what happens next? Taiho thought for a moment. Then we show the galaxy that humanity is not a species to be ignored. We show them that we fight. We show them that we win. Somi nodded. Good. That is what I wanted to hear. She walked onto the ship, and the door closed behind her. Seconds later, the hangar doors opened, revealing the dark sky above. The shadow ship rose slowly, silently. It did not make a sound. It did not leave a trail. It simply disappeared into the night. Teho watched until he could not see it anymore. Then he turned to Yuna, who stood beside him. Now we wait, he said. And pray, Yuna added. Taiho nodded slowly. And pray. High above the Pacific Ocean, The Vakari command ship floated among the clouds. It was enormous, the size of a small city. Thousands of Vakari soldiers walked its halls. Their leader, a creature named Crawl, sat on his throne and watched the destruction below with pleasure. He had conquered many worlds in his life. He had killed millions of creatures. But humans were his favorite victims so far. They screamed so loudly. They fought so desperately. It was entertaining. Crawl did not know that a small ship was approaching his vessel. He did not know that 200 humans were about to enter his home. He did not know that his empire was about to learn what happened when you pushed humanity too far. The shadow ship slipped through the Vakari defenses like a ghost. It attached itself to the bottom of the command ship without making a sound. A door opened and soldiers poured out. Somi was the first one through. She held her weapon tight and looked at the dark corridor ahead. "For Earth," she whispered. Then she ran into the darkness. The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles. Its walls were made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Thousands of alien species sat in floating chairs, their eyes fixed on the center platform. This was the most powerful place in the known universe. Every decision made here changed the fate of billions. Ambassador Hana walked slowly toward the center. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. She was a small woman with black hair tied behind her head. Her face showed no emotion, but inside her heart was beating fast. She carried the hope of 8 billion humans on her shoulders. The Vakari had attacked Earth 3 months ago. They came without warning. Their ships appeared in the sky like dark clouds, and they began burning cities. Millions died in the first week alone. Earth's military fought back, but the Vakari were too strong. Their weapons were advanced. Their ships were faster. Humanity needed help. That is why Hannah stood here today. She had traveled for 2 weeks through space to reach this council. She had prepared her speech 100 times. She believed in the promise of the Galactic Council. They said they protected all member species. They said they stood for peace and justice. Earth had joined them 50 years ago, hoping to find friends among the stars. Now it was time to see if those friends were real. Hana stopped at the center platform and looked up. The council leader was a tall creature called Vorin. He had gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were completely black, like 2 holes in his face. He sat on a throne made of floating metal and looked down at Hana like she was an insect. "You may speak, human," Vorin said. His voice was cold. Hana took a deep breath. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began. "I come to you in our darkest hour. The Vakari Empire has invaded our home. They kill our people. They burn our cities. We have fought them with everything we have, but we are losing." She paused and looked around the room. Thousands of alien faces stared back at her. Some looked curious. Some looked bored. Many looked away, not wanting to meet her eyes. "Earth is a member of this council," Hana continued. "We have followed every rule. We have paid every tax. We have sent our soldiers to help in 3 different wars when other species asked for aid. Now we ask you to honor your promise. Send us help. Send us ships. Help us save our world." The hall was silent for a long moment. Then Vorin leaned forward on his throne. "The council hears your request," he said slowly. "But the Vakari are not our enemy. They have not attacked any council world except yours." Hannah felt her stomach drop. "What does that matter? We are a council world. An attack on us is an attack on all of us. That is what the charter says." A strange sound filled the hall. It took Hannah a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. The aliens were laughing at her. A creature with blue skin and tentacles spoke from the side of the room. His name was Drell, and he was one of the oldest council members. "Little human," he said, "you misunderstand. The charter protects important species. species that matter. Your people joined us only 50 years ago. You are still children in this galaxy. Children who die while you do nothing, Hana said. Her voice was getting harder now. The Vakari are strong, said another delegate. This one looked like a giant insect with golden wings. If we help you, they might attack us too. Why should we risk our worlds for yours? Hana could not believe what she was hearing. Because it is right. Because that is what the council is supposed to do. You speak of peace and justice, but you are cowards. The laughter stopped. Voron's black eyes narrowed. Careful, human, he said. You stand in the most powerful hall in the galaxy. You do not make demands here. You do not insult us here. Hana's hands were shaking now. Not from fear, but from anger. She thought of her home. She thought of her parents who died in the first attack. She thought of the children running through burning streets while Vakari ships flew overhead. And she thought of these creatures sitting in their beautiful hole doing nothing. I came here to ask for help, Hana said quietly. I believed in this council. I believed in the promise of unity among the stars. But I see now that I was wrong. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small metal badge. It was the symbol of Earth's membership in the council. She had carried it since her first day as ambassador. It meant everything to her once. Now, it meant nothing. Hana threw the badge onto the floor. The sound of metal hitting stone echoed through the hall. Every alien in the room stared at her in shock. What are you doing? Voron demanded. I am ending our membership, Hana said. Earth will not beg to cowards. We will not wait for help that will never come. We will face the Vakari alone. And when we survive, when we win, you will remember this day. You will remember that you laughed while humans died. She turned and began walking toward the exit. The aliens whispered to each other. Some were angry. Some were confused. None of them moved to stop her. Drell called out from behind her. You are making a mistake, human. Without the council, you have no protection. No trade, no allies. You will be alone in a dangerous universe. Hana stopped at the door and looked back one last time. We were already alone, she said. You just made sure we know it now. She walked out of the hall and did not look back. The great doors closed behind her with a heavy sound. She stood in the empty corridor for a moment, her heart still racing. Then she pulled out her communication device and sent a message to Earth. It contained only 3 words. They refused us. Thousands of light years away. Admiral Taiho received the message. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in many battles during his life. He had seen friends die. He had seen worlds burn. But he had never seen anything like the Vakari invasion. He read Hana's message twice. Then he put down the device and walked to the window of his command ship. Outside, he could see Earth. It was still beautiful from space. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. But he knew that down there, people were dying. He had hoped the council would help. Part of him had believed in them, just like Hana did. But deep inside, he had always known the truth. The galaxy did not care about humans. Nobody would save them except themselves. Taiho turned to his officers. They were young men and women with fear in their eyes. They were waiting for him to speak. Send orders to every ship, Taiho said. His voice was calm and steady. Tell them the council has abandoned us. Tell them we fight alone now. A young officer named Jisoo looked up at him. Sir, can we win without help? Taiho thought about the question for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had nothing left to lose. We are human, he said. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We have climbed from caves to the stars. The Vakari think we are weak because we are young. They will learn their mistake. He looked back at Earth one more time. Prepare the fleet, he ordered. It is time to show the galaxy what humanity can do.